Alrighty, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the 10th iteration of the Konoha Companion. I'm Joshua, and I'm your Konoha Companion, and I'm real excited about this episode. It's our 10th episode. We just hit double digits, so I'm really excited. That was a little milestone that I had in my mind, so proud of myself for sticking with it and making this thing real. And to dive right into the episode, we're going to be covering Season 1, Episode 10 of Naruto, entitled FOREST of Chakra. And in the last episode, just to kind of give you a quick rundown, Kakashi got freed from Zabuza's water prison by the squadlings. Naruto had hatched a genius plan where he transformed into a shuriken that Sasuke threw at Zabuza, which of course Zabuza dodged. But then Naruto transformed from the shuriken back into himself and threw kunai at Zabuza once they had the drop on him. Zabuza had to avoid it and broke the water prison jutsu, allowing Kakashi to get free, and they ultimately have a big fight. Kakashi, with the Sharingan, is able to perfectly match Zabuza's jutsu, and he even blasts Zabuza with a water vortex jutsu before Zabuza could even launch his own water vortex jutsu attack. At the end of the water vortex jutsu, Zabuza finds himself slammed against a tree, and Kakashi pins him against the tree with several kunai. And at this point, a masked figure suddenly kills Zabuza with one attack, sniper style. Two little thrown ninja weapons right to the neck. And the masked figure reveals itself to be an elite tracker from the village hidden in the mist who'd been assigned to tracking down and eliminating the rogue ninja Zabuza. Kakashi confirms Zabuza's death, and the tracker leaves with Zabuza's body to dispose of it properly and to make sure the secrets held within his body don't fall into the wrong hands. Naruto has a meltdown, realizing how low he is on the ninja totem pole when he sees that the ninja that took out Zabuza with one move is basically the same age as him, and they stood very little chance against Zabuza, right? This is where the last episode ends, and where the current episode more or less begins. This episode starts with Kakashi laying in a bed recuperating. Firstly, thank goodness Kakashi's okay, right? There was not really any telling what was happening at the end of last episode. Maybe he had been poisoned. There was no telling, right? But he seems to be doing okay, right? He's alive in a bed. They made it to presumably Tazuna's house, right? And Kakashi's thinking to himself, I think I overdid it with my Sharingan. And at this point, an unknown woman then walks in and remarks, "Waking up, huh? Are you all right?" And Kakashi responds, "I've been better. It'll be a week before I can move normally." And Kakashi starts to sit up and groans in pain. And the woman responds, "See, it's better if you don't move, so just lay down." Kakashi agrees and lays back down. And the squadlings come into the room, and Sakura gasps, and Naruto remarks, "Look, Sensei's coming around." And Sakura kneels down to Kakashi and says, "Listen, Sensei, your Sharingan is amazing and everything, but if it puts that much strain on you, maybe it's not worth it." This is dumb. He and the youngsters were gonna die if he didn't use it. I'd rather be bedridden for a week than dead for forever, every time. But Kakashi simply apologizes, and Tazuna chimes in with a chuckle. "Well, you did take down one of the most powerful ninja assassins, so we'll be safe for a while." And this provides some insight into some of the answers that I've been looking for previous, where I was worrying about what comes next, right? I was curious if Gato had a stable of guys that are on Zabuza's level, and evidently he does, right? And that not only does he have a stable of ninja assassins, but that also Zabuza isn't even the strongest, he's just among the strongest, right? So it definitely appears as though bigger problems could be on the horizon for the team if this is something that Gato feels like is a big enough thing to go ahead and throw his entire resource stack at. Sakura then remarks, "Right, but that boy in the mask, what about him?" Kakashi then chimes in, "He's from the elite tracking unit from the village hidden in the mist. Those masks are worn by the most elite shinobi." And Sakura asks, "What exactly do they do?" And Kakashi remarks, "The Anbu Black Ops, also known as the Inferno Squad, destroy all traces of rogue ninjas' corpses. The shinobi's body contains many secrets, ninjutsu, chakra, special medicines used on the body, and these are the secrets of the village." And at this point, it's showing several masked figures similar to the tracker around a corpse they have, and they have a bunch of crows eat it until there's legit nothing left, like not even a pool of blood, like it's gone. Kakashi continues, "If his enemies find them, his people will be in grave danger. For instance, if I were to die at the hands of an enemy, he would try to analyze my Sharingan. In the worst case, my entire jutsu could be stolen and used against our home village. It is the sacred duty of the trackers to prevent this, to keep the village secrets safe. If a ninja betrays his village, the trackers hunt him down and eliminate him and obliterate every trace of their existence. That is their specialty." And so this is neat, right? They've given us some more insight into what the trackers do. I also believe this may be one of, possibly even the very first mention of the Anbu Black Ops. They're a bunch of goons. They're basically like they're the tip of the spear, right? They're like the arms and legs of the Hokage, if you will, right? They're like the Jonin, or they're like the elite of the Jonin, right? That like operate in the shadows. You don't know their names. They've got masks. It's a pretty wild deal. And so I also forgot that they were called the Inferno Squad. They don't really say that too much throughout the series. So that's always neat to catch stuff like that on the second time around. At this point, it takes us back to the tracker who is dealing with Zabuza's corpse, and he goes, "First, I'll cut the bandage and drain some of the blood." And he pulls out a pair of shears, and he goes to cut the bandage, and Zabuza suddenly grabs his hand, and the tracker lets out a gasp. Zabuza then pulls down the wraps from his face with his free hand, revealing his mouth for the first time, and goes, "That's enough, I'll do it." And the tracker responds, "So you're already back to life?" And Zabuza sets up and looks over at the tracker and goes, "Haku, you're brutal," and yanks the long needles out of his neck, and Haku responds, "You're the one who's brutal, Zabuza. If you keep pulling them out of your neck like that, you really will be finished." And Zabuza responds angrily, "How long are you planning to wear that phony mask? Take it off." And Haku says he has good memories of this mask, plus it was useful for tricking that ninja. And he takes off the mask, revealing his face. And he also has a hidden mist headband like Zabuza. And so this is wild, right? The tracker is actually a character named Haku, and he's not actually a tracker who's been sent out by the village hidden in the mist to kill Zabuza. He's actually an associate of Zabuza's, and he was there to basically pull him out of a hard spot. And Haku says, "If I hadn't intervened, you'd be dead now. That much is certain." And Zabuza responds, "Putting me in a temporary death state is fine, but not through the pressure points in my neck. Cruel as usual. I think you enjoy it." And Zabuza covers his face again, And it flashes us back to Haku, who's blushing at the comment that Zabuza just made about him being brutal and him liking it. And Haku then says, "It was the only sure way, and I wouldn't want to mark up your flawless body. You'd complain about that even more. The neck is more vulnerable, there's no layer of muscle, so I could go straight into the pressure points." And Zabuza at this point tries to stand up but struggles with it, and Haku continues, "There's no point trying to move, you'll be numb for a week. Although, if you are as stubborn as usual, you'll probably be moving in half that time." Zabuza groans and goes, "You're so innocent and you're clever at the same time. Rare combination. That's why I keep you around." And Haku responds, "I'm a kid. What else would you expect?" He then stands and remarks, "The mist has cleared." And he looks down at Zabuza and asks him, "Next time, will you be all right?" And Zabuza intensely responds, "Next time, I'll see right through his Sharingan." And it zooms in on him a little closer, and at that point, the title screen comes in and Naruto reads, "The Forest of Chakra," and the episode's really kicking off. And so, this is wild, right? Super dope. Zabuza really ain't dead. He got pulled out of there by one of his goons, Haku, who's obviously talented. The dude was able to hit Zabuza's pressure points with those little thrown ninja needles from a distance. That's a hellaciously talented throw to make. He was able to put Zabuza in a temporary death state with proficiency. And he was also able to effectively deceive the entirety of Squad 7. So, Haku's one to keep an eye out on, right? It takes us back to Kakashi, who's rubbing his head and thinking, what is this? If Zabuza's finished, why do I feel this way? Something is wrong. It's like I missed something. And Naruto notices this and asks Kakashi if he's okay. And Kakashi goes, "Oh yeah. And to finish what I was saying, Tracker Ninja deal with the body immediately, on the spot, so there's no room for error." And Sakura asks, "Is that really important?" And Kakashi remarks, "Think about it. Do you remember what the tracker did with Zabuza's body?" And Sakura responds, "We don't know what he did. I mean, I guess he took it away somewhere." And Kakashi points out exactly, but why? He should have worked on Zabuza right there as quickly as possible. Think of the weapons he used for the takedown. Do you remember what they were? And Sasuke remembers and remarks, "Throwing needles," and his eyes widen and says aloud, "No way." And Kakashi responds, "Exactly. None of it adds up." And Naruto kind of confusedly goes, And Tazuna walks in and asks, "What are you all murmuring about? You demolished that assassin." Kakashi sits upright and announces, "This is the truth. Zabuza is still alive." And everyone's mouths hit the floor. And Naruto exclaims, "But we saw his body, believe it." And Sakura chimes in, "Kakashi-sensei, you checked him yourself. You said that his heart had stopped." And Kakashi responds, "His heart did stop, but that was just a temporary state to simulate death. The weapons those tracker used are called Sinban. They can pierce deeply but rarely kill unless they hit a vital organ, not in the neck. They are modified from needles used in medical treatments like acupuncture. Trackers are trained to know every detail of the human body. Causing the heart to stop temporarily while keeping the body alive is an easy matter for them. First, he carried Zabuza's body away, even though it was much heavier than he is. Second, he used Sinbon, which have a precise effect but are rarely fatal. From these two factors, we can conclude that the tracker wasn't trying to destroy Zabuza, he was trying to save him. And so Kakashi at this point has effectively pieced it all together. The dude is always slick with it. It's a little after the fact, right? But he definitely, given enough time, he figured it out, right? It was not sitting right with him in his gut. And he sat there and thought it out loud and figured it out. Tazuna at that point responds, "Come on, you're overthinking this." And Kakashi then says, "Encountering suspicion, the ninja prepares quickly. Hesitation leads to disaster." Every shinobi knows this saying. So that's an important one, right? It's right up there with a ninja must see through deception, right? So when you see through deception, it's because you're encountering suspicion. And when you encounter suspicion, the ninja prepares quickly because hesitation leads to disaster. Bang, bang. It all ties together. And this actually puts a smile on Naruto's face, and Naruto even lets out a little chuckle, and Kakashi notices this and thinks to himself, he's actually pleased to hear Zabuza's alive. Now he gets another shot at him. And Sakura then chimes in, "Sensei, you said prepare quickly, but how can we do that when you can't even move?" And Kakashi laughs and says, "I can still train you." And Sakura responds, "Hold on, a little last-minute training won't make us strong enough to fight Zabuza. You could barely defeat him even with your Sharingan. We have to be reasonable about this." And in the back of her head, she's just screaming, "What are you trying to get us killed?" And Kakashi then asks Sakura why he was able to defeat Zabuza. And he then goes on to explain that he was able to defeat Zabuza because the squadlings all helped him and that they've all grown. And he then tells Naruto that he's grown the most. And Naruto lets out a little nervous chuckle, right? And Sakura looks over at him and thinks he's stronger and more confident, and at that moment Naruto chimes in, "So you notice, Kakashi-sensei, now things are going to get better. Believe it." And at this point, an unknown child chimes in from out of screen, "I don't believe it. And nothing ever is going to get good." And Naruto then demands to know who this kid is. And in the moment, Tazuna yells out, "Ah, Inari, where have you been?" And the kid runs over and gives Tazuna a hug, and he yells, "Welcome back, Grandpa." Right, and so at this point, you can kind of piece together that the kiddo is his grandpa. The woman in the room is Tazuna's daughter, Inari's mom. And so Inari's mom, who's checking in on Kakashi in the beginning, scolds the child, saying, "Inari, that was very rude. These ninja helped your grandpa and brought him here safely." And Tazuna at that point, petting Inari's head, goes, it's okay, I'm rude to him too." Inari then turns to her and says, "Mom, don't you see? These people are all going to die. Gato and his men will come back and find them and wipe them out." So, wow, this kid just came in, gave his grandpa a hug, and was like, "Hey, Mom, these dudes are going to die. Gato's a killer." And the beat drops, and Naruto stands up and yells, "What did you say, brat? Listen up. You know what a super ninja is? That's me, only a lot better. I'm going to be Hokage. This Gato or Blato or whatever he's called is no match for a real hero like me." And the kid laughs and responds, "There's no such thing as a hero. You're just full of stupid ideas." And this drops Naruto's jaw, and he comes rushing towards the kid, exclaiming, "What did you say?" And Sakura restrains him and tells him to calm down. And Inari offers, if you want to stay alive, go back where you came from, and walks away. And Tazuna asks for Inari to wait and asks where he's going, to which Inari responds he's going to look out at the ocean and that he wants to be alone. And he continues all the way on out the room. Tazuna apologizes to the squad for the behavior of Inari, and Naruto, clearly bothered by what just went down, goes storming off and remarks to himself, "Who does this kid think he is? I'm going to put him in his place right now." And Naruto comes stomping down the hallway to confront Inari, and he hears him crying in his bedroom. And Naruto peeks through the cracked door and sees Inari looking out over the water, holding a picture of a man crying hysterically. And Inari is crying out, "No, Daddy, no." And at this point, it's clear that the man in the picture is Inari's late father. And Naruto lowers his head and leaves him be. The next scene is Squad 7 out training, and Kakashi is literally on crutches. And he remarks, "First, we'll start with a review of chakra, the ninja's basic source of power. Understanding chakra is essential." And Sasuke chimes in condescendingly, "We know that." And Naruto adds on, "He's right. A long time ago, we learned about, Chakra." And this is a fun callback to episode 2, whenever he was explaining to Konohamaru the principle of Chakra, and that it isn't chakra. Real ninjas call it Chakra. And it's a neat little thing. If you've been keeping up with it, it's a fun little callback. Kakashi corrects him and goes, "It's chakra," real drunk out, just not entertained by it whatsoever. And Kakashi then hands the stage over to Sakura, and she remarks, "All right, Naruto, I'll explain it simply so even you can understand it." And she busts out a scroll and opens it and explains, "Chakra is the essential life energy that a ninja uses in jutsu. It's the source of all his power. Now, this energy has 2 forms: physical energy, which exists in all the cells in the entire body, all working together, and spiritual energy, the primal source of power, which is intensified through training and experience." She then points to a green and yellow yin-yang on the scroll and continues, "As you can see, these 2 types of chakra must be drawn out and brought together in order to perform jutsu. Notice the interplay between physical and spiritual power. That's the key. Finally, hand signs focus and unleash the chakra." And Kakashi remarks, "Right on all points. Iruka Sensei really did have some excellent students." And Sakura kind of has like a content little giggle. And Naruto exclaims, "What's the deal with all these complicated explanations? The whole point is to learn the jutsu, isn't it?" And Sasuke chimes in and goes, "Naruto's right for once. We already use chakra energy in our jutsu." And remember, this was supposed to be the simple explanation that even Naruto could understand. So just know that there's definitely much, much, much more to this to be discovered. It's just that's a very broad strokes. This is kind of generally what's happening with this process on the back end type of explanation. And it's still kind of complex, right? So they've got a lot cooking over here. Kakashi claps back, "No, you've not mastered this power. You've barely scratched the surface of it." And Naruto questions, "What do you mean?" And Kakashi continues, "Calm down and listen. It's just like Sakura said. You have to draw on physical and spiritual energies and then combine them within yourself. But how do you do that? Each jutsu requires different types of chakra in different proportions." And at this point, it's showing on the screen 5 scrolls representing the 5 chakra natures. No, there's more than that, but there's 5 basic ones, right? and they're earth, wind, fire, water, and lightning. And they correspond with the primary lands that have ninja villages on the continent. Kakashi continues, you must select and combine them in exactly the right way. Up to now, you've just guessed at the proportions, hoping they'd come out right. Even if you produce a lot of chakra, unless you can balance and control it, it's all worthless. The jutsu won't work at all, or it'll just be a joke. And at this point, it's flashing back to Naruto failing at the clone jutsu in his first, really his third final exam at the academy, but the first final exam that we got to witness, right? And obviously in this circumstance, he had plenty of chakra, right? But he didn't have it in balance. He was making like this emanating blue field that was making the atmosphere around him swirl, and then he made a clone that was flat on its face, right? So it isn't just all about having an obscene amount of chakra. You have to be able to balance the stuff in order for these jutsu to come out the way you expect them to. Kakashi continues, you waste so much energy that way. Then you're out of chakra and can't fight at all. You're just a target. Says the guy on crutches who can't fight at all right now, right? Spoken from experience, right? Naruto asks, so how do we change that? And Kakashi answers, train so hard that controlling your chakra becomes second nature. To achieve this goal, you must be ready to put your life on the line. And it shows all the squadlings kind of gasping at this, right? And Sakura asks, well, what do we have to do? And Kakashi chuckles and answers with simply, climb a tree. And all the squadlings remark at once, climb a tree? And Kakashi tells them, that's right. There's just one rule, no hands. And all the squadlings kind of look at Kakashi confused. And Sakura tells Kakashi that he must be kidding. And he responds back, am I? Let's see. And he casts a hand sign and he walks over to a nearby tree and walks straight up it. And this blows the kids' minds. And Kakashi keeps walking up the tree and literally walks upside down out onto a branch and remarks, well, you get the idea. Focus the chakra towards the soles of your feet and use it to connect to the tree. This is one way to apply the power of chakra. This is also how Zabuza and Kakashi were able to have their fight while standing on the water whenever Naruto was floating around, getting washed around in the spin cycle. Sakura exclaims, wait a minute, that's a nice trick, but how does this help us fight Zabuza? And Kakashi answers, it's the only way to fight him, Sakura. That's the entire goal of this training. First, you'll learn to draw a precise amount of chakra to a precise point in your body. This is difficult, even for advanced ninja. This type of climbing requires a subtle mix of physical and spiritual energy, and the bottoms of the feet are the most difficult points to focus chakra. Are you getting the picture? If you can master this, you'll be able to master any jutsu. Well, theoretically. The second point is to learn to maintain your chakra levels. When a ninja is focused on battle, it's even harder to control and maintain his chakra level. A deadly mistake. To avoid this, maintaining chakra must become second nature, effortless. Well, I can talk about this all day, but that won't advance your skills, will it? You need to apply the power of chakra through training. And Kakashi then throws 3 kunai, which land at the feet of each squadling, and he then declares, use the kunai knife to mark the tree at the highest point you climb without your hands. Then try and get past that mark the next time, and the next. At first, you'll need to run at the tree so your momentum can take you as high as possible until you get used to it. Ready? And the beat drops, and Naruto snags his kunai and yells, "I'm more than ready. This is going to be no sweat all the way, believe it. And remember what you said, Sensei, I'm the one who's grown the most." And Kakashi responds to him, "You're definitely the one who talks the most. Now get focused and do it." And Naruto zones in and throws the appropriate hand sign and thinks to himself, "Okay, at first I need to draw the chakra to the bottom of my feet." And it shows all the squadlings doing this, and you see the chakra like move the dust around their feet, right? It creates an emanating field of chakra that blows the dust and the grass, and like you see a circle kind of radiate away from their feet. Naruto says aloud, "I've got it, charge!" And they all go sprinting at their trees. And Naruto literally slips on his second step and falls flat on his head on the ground. Sasuke does pretty well, makes it about 7-8 steps up and slashes the tree, and he also leaves a footprint on the tree on his last step. And Sasuke thinks to himself, "This is harder than I thought," and he looks up at the tree and continues to think, the balance has to be perfect. If the chakra is too strong, it smashes the tree and pushes you off. He looks over at Naruto rolling on the ground in pain and continues internally, but if it's not strong enough, you just tumble back down like Naruto. And Kakashi, watching this, remarks to himself, "That's about what I expected out of Sasuke and Naruto." And in this moment, Sakura yells, "Hey, this is fun." And everyone looks over at her, and she's all the way up the tree sitting on a branch. And Naruto is obviously shocked by this, and Sakura can't help but blush and giggle, having done such a good job. And, she legit outdid Sasuke and Naruto real quick. And Kakashi remarks, "Well, looks like the female member of the squad has the most advanced chakra control. Well done, Sakura." And Sakura again lets out a cute little giggle and sticks out her tongue at her teammates as they look up at her from the ground. Naruto, with a huge lump on his head, exclaims, "Yeah, way to go, Sakura. I always knew you were awesome, believe it." And damn it, man, we all need someone who believes in us like Naruto believes in Sakura. What'd I do? Naruto then thinks to himself that it does tick him off that she beat him, though. Right, Naruto's always wanted to be the best. Sasuke says in his generally patronizing tone, "Whatever." And this just kills Sakura, right? She thinks to herself, "I thought Sasuke would be impressed. Now he's mad at me. Why is it always like that?" Kakashi then says, "Well, not only does Sakura understand chakra, she can control and maintain it as well. We spoke about someone becoming Hokage one day, didn't we? Seems Sakura's got the best chance of that, wouldn't you say? And as for the great Uchiha clan, maybe they're not so great after all." And I love that Kakashi knows exactly how to get under the skin of and how to motivate the guys. He knows that Sasuke wants to restore and validate his clan, and he knows that Naruto wants to be Hokage, and he knows that he knows how to use that to leverage the most out of these guys. And Sakura at this point chimes in, "Shut up, Sensei, you talk too much." And she thinks to herself, Sasuke's gonna hate me now. And I love how Sakura won't even let Kakashi Sensei talk shit about Sasuke. And in this moment, Naruto and Sasuke lock eyes and the competition is on, right? And Kakashi thinks to himself, "Okay, I think they're motivated." Of course, Naruto and Sasuke both have far more chakra within. If this training works, their mastery of chakra will become a valuable asset. Naruto then goes, "All right, First, I'll match Sasuke, then I'm going all the way to the top, believe it. And in this moment, it reveals Taz and his grandson Inari watching all of this from behind a nearby tree. And he scoffs and remarks, "What a waste of time. They don't know what they're going up against." And he walks away, and as he's walking away, it flashes back to the picture of his father, and he grunts and clenches his fists in anger. And it takes us back to Zabuza's hideout, where Zabuza is in his bed recovering, and Haku is by his side. And Gato comes in with two thugs, and one of them has a beanie with long gray hair, and the other one has on no shirt, an eye patch on his right eye, and tattoos. And Gato announces, "Some Jonin, the unbeatable ninja, just got beat, limping back home like some pathetic has-been." And he chuckles real loud and he demands, "Demon of the Hidden Mist?" And he laughs even louder, more like Coward of the Hidden Mist. And Haku stands up abruptly, obviously offended by this, and Gato's two thugs move close to protect Gato. And they both begin to unsheath their swords. And Haku questions aloud, "Drawing swords?" And Gato waves the thugs off and says, "Hang on a minute," as he approaches Zabuza. He then asks Zabuza what he has to say about the whole fiasco and tells him not to play possum, he knows he can talk. He then reaches to pull down Zabuza's face coverings down, and Haku grabs his arms with like the thunder quickness, right? And this obviously shocks and angers Gato, who glares at Haku and demands, "Keep your filthy up." So this obviously angers Gato, who glares at Haku, and Haku demands to Gato to keep your filthy hands off of him, in reference to Zabuza. And Gato screams in pain and pleads Haku's going to break his arm. And the two thugs go to draw their swords, and in an instant, Haku gets between them, takes their swords, and is holding them two at bay with their own swords pressed up against their throats. And the thug with the eye patch thinks, "That's impossible." And the thug with the gray hair thinks, "No one can move that fast." And the screen zooms in on Haku's intense brown eyes, who declares, "Don't push me. I'm in a really foul mood." He then throws the thug's swords on the ground, and Gato grunts and yells, "One chance, that's it. If you fail this time, I'll cut you off. There will be no one left to cover for you." And he turns and tells his thugs, "Let's go," and they make an immediate exit. And Zabuza tells Haku that wasn't necessary, and it reveals that Zabuza had a kunai in his hand under the covers the whole time. And Haku remarks, "Perhaps, but it's too early to take out Gato. He's still our best cover. Think about it. The murders would draw their attention, then they'd be after us again." And it shows like trackers, like some Anbu Black Op members in a flashback. And Haku smiles and declares, "We need restraint." Zabuza sighs and admits that Haku is right. And at this point it flashes back to Naruto, who's running up a tree, but ultimately falls on his head again, right? But this time he was actually making it up the tree. It took a few steps. You can see on Sasuke's tree where he left the footprint. And he's made some progress, but not a ton, right? He's made dozens of attempts at least. Sasuke at this point has knelt down, catching his breath, and Sakura is literally laying on the ground exhausted, and she's thinking to herself, "I'm totally worn out. How can they just keep going like that?" as she looks at Naruto and Sasuke. And Naruto is sitting on the ground, rubbing the knot on his head which has grown much larger by now with the number of times he's fallen and hit the ground. And he looks up at the tree, and you can see he hasn't made a ton of progress. There's some progress, but it's not what you'd want. And Sakura laughs internally and thinks Naruto isn't making any progress at all. Knowing him, any minute now he'll give up and throw a tantrum. And in that moment, Naruto stands up and starts screaming at the tree. And Sakura kind of smirks and chuckles internally and goes, there he goes. He's so predictable, it's embarrassing. And just as she thinks this, Naruto comes up to her, kneels down, and whispers, hey, you're good at this. How about some advice? But please, don't tell Sasuke I asked. Please, please. And Sasuke sees all of this transpiring, obviously. And so too does Kakashi. And Kakashi thinks he's catching on. From now on, he'll get stronger and stronger. But how strong? After all, Naruto possesses more chakra than Sasuke. In fact, the amount of chakra he possesses, it is greater than my own. And the episode ends, right? And so that's a neat way to end the episode, right? You find out that Naruto is like a chakra monster, right? Has more chakra than Kakashi Sensei, who's a grown-ass adult Jonin, elite level ninja, and this dude's a 12-year-old dork and has more chakra than him. Other final thoughts that I have are, man, I love the big plot twist with Zabuza being alive and the tracker actually being an accomplice of his named Haku. Haku is a goon. I love that this show takes the time to like develop these bad guys and make them badass, right? He managed to fool Kakashi in the gang. He disarmed 2 thugs in an instant. He's someone to keep an eye on for sure. It's wild that Kakashi, using up his chakra with the Sharingan, has him bordering on disabled, walking around with crutches. Gato's little punk ass talking shit and whining about getting his wrist grabbed too hard. Neat training with the chakra control, walking on trees and walking on water. I love that Sakura has the best chakra control in Squad 7. Go her. I love that Naruto went to Sakura for help, right? I think that's really neat, and I think that if Naruto keeps swallowing his pride and going to people who are better than him at things, he's going to do really well. Like, I'm a business owner, and one of the things that we always say is that we want to surround ourselves with people who are better than us at the things that they do, right? And that's one of these things where Naruto has these squadlings who are more effective than him in other places, right? And he's okay with that, and he's also willing to learn from them and figure out how they're doing it so that he can be better himself. And that's a really powerful thing that he's employing there. Naruto, again, being the chakra monster. Dude's even got more chakra than Kakashi Sensei. The first mention of the Anbu Black Ops, they're going to be a pretty big figure throughout the series. You'll hear a lot about that. Tazuna's grandson Inari has obviously been traumatized by Gato and his thugs and believes that the squad is doomed if they stand up to Gato. And a quick rundown on the chakra. Chakra is the power that these ninja use to do their superhuman feats, right? There are 2 forms of chakra. Form 1 is physical energy from every cell. Form 2 is spiritual energy, which is the primal source of power. And the ninja have to balance these 2 appropriately in order to actually do jutsu. The ninja can do jutsu once they have enough of both forms of chakra built up and balance it appropriately, and then they can use hand signs to direct that energy into different attacks. And jutsu is the actual badass shit, like the attacks, the water dragon, the water vortex, the shadow clone jutsu, the fireball jutsu, the Sharingan abilities, etc. And moving forward, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. Obviously, both of these teams are aware that, like, they know, right? Kakashi and these guys are going to be protecting the bridge builder while he tries to complete the bridge. And Zabuza and Haku are going to be coming back to try and avenge their L they took and to keep their money train and cover train rolling with Gato. So, obviously there's another big fight coming up. It's going to be interesting to see what transpires between here and there. It's going to be interesting to see how that fight itself transpires. Things are all coming together on episode 10. There's a lot to look forward to. And with that, guys, I really appreciate everybody sticking with me and listening to these. Please participate in the comments, share the memes, be friends, right? The whole point of this is to be friends and to build a community so that we can all have people to talk about Naruto and anime with. And with that, I'm Joshua. I'm your Konoha companion. I'm really looking forward to going over Season 1, Episode 11 next time. Keep an eye out. Thanks so much.